No kidding.
All right. So this is episode 21 of the University of Badassery. And up until this point, Mac, we had switched sometime back to books, to really more history,
Right.
bro history. And because we are not historians, but we just figured it's fun to have a couple of dudes talk about, crazy stuff in history. And we've done that with the endurance.
With the endurance, oh my God. And then with the core discovery, Lewis and Clark.
Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, those are fun too because, an hour and a half of our banter talking about like the endurance and Shackleton or Lewis and Clark and the core of discovery. It's a lot more fun that way because we're giving you the Cliff Notes version, Cliff's Notes version of a piece of history, but it's history that's all about badassery.
Right. Exactly.
And the one we're doing today is not an exception to the rule. It's not,
Well, this is something actually that you had brought to mind, and one of the things that Mac and I share a passion for is attitude, mindset, and these sorts of things. And Mac he has got a lot of that naturally, but so much of even what people value you for today is because of what the levels you achieved in the military and what was required of you guys mentally to do what you do. And now, as you've been teaching people and all sorts of things, you've continued to apply these principles. But I so often hear the question asked, or people write in to ask, Mac, what are you reading?
Yeah.
They want to know what he's reading. And so I thought, what would be good is to spend some time with some of Mac's favorite little books to get him talking about the things that have kind of inspired him. Now, I remember in a recent podcast that you did, which is really where this particular episode comes from today, you were talking to Kyle Lamb, and Kyle was asking you about what you were reading, and Kyle's a reader, right? And, you said, well, it's not the most interesting stuff in the world, kind of sports psych and all of that. But to somebody like me, that's extremely interesting. And I think the way you've kind of processed things and made them real world applicable is really where the gold is. And I think that's going to come through today. So what are we talking about?
Well, so just to kind of expand on what you were saying, ever since I retired and I started training people on this side, people have tried to define what I am doing. And early on, I was like, that's not it, man. That's not what I am doing, because they really appreciated my training methodology. Right. And when I was doing the training for a corporation, they were all trying to define it because they wanted to send out like pamphlets, or they wanted to talk to generals about this stuff. And I wasn't their spokesman. They were using other people. And I'm listening to what they're saying. And I'm going, nope, that's not it. So I started reading some sports psychology books. And they were all, the methodology all paralleled, was all parallel. And I was like, this is what I am doing right here. I just couldn't define it. Right. And basically what the definition was that performance-based training.
Right.
See, people were trying to define what I was doing as outcome-based training. And we've talked about this on podcasts before, where outcome-based training can be defined by as execution with consideration of the consequence. Will I succeed or will I fail? It's how much, how fast. And that's not what I was doing. I was giving people permission to succeed, to level up. Right. I was giving them permission because I am allowing them to set the standard for themselves versus writing down a standard, some arbitrary standard, and say, you must adhere to this standard. Because that's where most like LEO and military work is. They have to, they train to meet a certain standard.
Right.
I mean, but we're all born different. We all perform differently. Performance can be measured by doing what we can with what we have. So I started reading sports psychology books, and I realized that I love this. Yeah. I want information. I'm not a good reader. I mean, if it's interesting to me, I can't put it down. And for some reason, sports psychology books, I can't put them down. I need to see what's on the next page. So the one we're talking about today, and a lot of folks out there have heard it, is Lanny Basham with Winning in Mind. With Winning in Mind, this mind.
Right.
Yep, with Winning in Mind. So many of the books I read have mind in the title.
Yeah.
Yep. But this one's good, and it's easy. It's look at all the yellow in there.
Yeah, right. He's got
all the highlighted stuff. Yep.
Yeah, the mental management system and Olympic champions success system. And from the intro, a PGA Tour player said, with winning in mind as a reference book on the relationship between thinking and performing while under pressure, taught by a person who has lived what he teaches. And that seems to be, and just from that, I can see why this resonates with you. And what's interesting to me, though, dude, is you didn't leave this mindset with the military. You know what I mean? You took this with you. You took this approach to excelling, but again, not focusing on the outcome per se.
Right.
But it's because the outcome takes care of itself. Right.
Yep.
And we'll see more about that in a minute. But did you know that that's what you were doing?
No, because, and here's the big difference too, is while I was military, it was all about how can I make me better?
Right.
How can I improve this?
Right.
Once I retired is how can I make other people better? So that was a big difference. So how do you do that? I don't know. I had to figure it out, because you could teach something out of a manual. But are you really going to make them better, or are you just regurgitating something else?
So at the time, though, were you thinking only in terms of the firearm instruction you were doing? Because that's you weren't the social media influencer then.
No, I certainly was not. Nope. No. So, but I was teaching other stuff other than the firearms too. But yes, so that's all I was thinking about is the things I was teaching people.
Right.
How could I make them better? How could they receive it better? How could they consume it better? How could they process it better? All that. So all the books, like the Talent Code, or what was the one, like Mind Gym, or what's the Dr. John Medina one? Is Brain Rules.
Okay.
How does the brain work? Right. Which allowed me to kind of format my teaching better.
Right.
If you understand how the brain works. So it was all kind of parallel and reciprocal,
right. So for you at the time, though, because somebody could simply say, well, I was Tier 1 Special Forces, so it's going to be easier for me to get a gig teaching firearms and whatnot. So, and leave it at that. Just all you got to do is show up and teach the course. Who cares whether I'm making the people better as people or anything like that? So you were already thinking like this at that time.
Yeah, because a lot of guys do that. They're like, well, I'm a retired special ops guy. People will hire me just because.
Yeah.
They will hire me.
Right.
But when it comes to teaching and conveying a message, I've said this a million times, you need to be the right person who's going to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. You need to tailor training to the individual. It needs to be tailored. And because you can't just tailor the training to a specific group. I like to tailor the training to an individual within the group.
Right.
So and that takes time. It takes time to figure that stuff out.
Did you notice the effectiveness of that early on? Could you see the net effect of people feeling like they were, weren't just one of 20 people standing in a shooting line?
Not early on, because it took me a while to evolve in my teaching. But I paid attention.
Right.
A lot of teachers, people on the podium, instructors, I think they're just going to go copy paste because it's working. Why improve on it?
Right.
Where I really wanted to improve on it, and I wanted to develop my own, because I had my own training methodology at the beginning. It was all about delivery. The Mac show. Get you some, gas it up and burn it down, blah, 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 blah. So, and people love that.
Sure.
The motivational piece of it. But I started going away from that and becoming more cerebral with teaching, because that resonated more. I think it was the first time, probably in 2012, I got a compliment from a teacher.
Okay.
Who was in my class, a shooting class. And that was like winning, you know?
Yeah.
So I wanted to win more. So how do you win more? Keep developing
Right.
and massaging this training methodology. Because having a compliment like that from a teacher
Sure.
saying, man, I teach all these different classes and your delivery is exceptional. You know, the way you structure stuff. So that became a big focus, the structuring and the delivery, and then that performance-based mental attitude type of training methodology really resonated with people. And I had so many people, not early on, but after a couple of years, saying, man, I was so intimidated, but I love the way you format the class. I thought I was way out of my league, which I was at the first day, but man, the second day I figured everything out, and you know, I had a spiritual awakening, an epiphany, and then I was able to perform
met
like
her.
everybody else.
Epiphany.
Yeah, epiphany. Yep.
Tiffany's sister.
Tiffany's sister. She's hot. Tiffany's sister.
You didn't used to date Epiphany. Okay, so you were growing in this. Again, not social media wasn't really a part of your equation or anything like that.
No.
So what was your goal? Just to be a great firearms instructor, do your own thing? What was the...
Well, yeah. Initially, my goal was to fill the calendar.
Okay.
How do you fill a calendar? You become your own person. You develop a niche.
Right.
You know? And early on, I think in like maybe 2004. So I started my own business in 2010, right, working under my own banner. And I started filling my calendar a year out in probably 2014. So it took me a couple years, you know, to massage the system, let it develop, let it mature, and then it was probably like 3 or 4 years in, like 2013, 14, where I realized, oh shit, all right, you know, less is more. It's not about. It's important to know what to say. It's also important to know what not to say, all that stuff. And my calendar started filling a year in advance. And people were like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm making training fun, interesting, but I'm also imparting a message that people could use outside of the firing range. And that's when it started catching on. I had... there was in 2 different classes, I had Olympic coaches. One was Olympic sailboat coach, coach professional sailors, and another was downhill skier Olympic coach.
Oh, wow.
And they said they came to the class not for the shooting portion, but for the training methodology portion.
Interesting.
I was like, damn, bro, holy crap. They said, yeah, we heard you running performance-based training, and we want to use your methodology to teach our athletes.
Had you ever thought of teaching teachers?
Yeah, I would love to. And a lot of teachers come to my class, and
You know,
but
let's do that sometime.
I never thought about it, but I would love to.
Let's set up a seminar sometime.
Oh yeah, sure.
And we'll just have
Yeah.
teachers
Invite
of all
teachers.
kinds.
Yeah. Yep.
Teachers and coaches.
Yeah,
and,
so we'd have to probably give that away for free because there's no way we could advertise it and sell it. Because they'd be like, what the hell? A shooting instructor wanted to teach us teachers. We know what we're doing here.
I don't know, dude. You're pretty popular.
Yeah. Well, now, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
Now you
Oh,
can do
yeah. I forget I'm popular now. Yeah.
You forget
I forget.
Small C, right? Small C.
Small C.
Okay, so anyway, so early on, then you resonated with sports psychology, and a lot of what you've invested your reading time with is in this material.
Yep.
And this book in particular, with winning in mind, how did you come across it?
You know, like a lot of people come across books, you buy one.
Right.
And then somebody recommends another one. You buy it, and then Amazon tells you what you want next.
Yeah. Right.
Which they weren't wrong in a lot of cases.
Right. So Jeff Bezos recommended this.
Yeah, right. So they weren't wrong. There's only been a couple times where I bought one because Amazon recommended it. You like this book, so you will absolutely love this one.
Right.
There's only been a couple times where they were wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's how I picked this one up. Which is great, you know, because I liked it right off because he and I were the same when we were kids.
You know
what I mean?
I thought about that.
Yeah, right.
I thought about that.
Sucked at all sports.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He couldn't. The baseball didn't work, and then so his dad suggested to him, well, maybe you should play something with a bigger ball,
Right.
so you can catch it. Because they put him like in right field where nobody.
Yep.
And the ball went out, and it just hit him in the head.
That was me
Yeah.
playing Little League. Of my first game, high pop. Yeah, I was. They put me in what is it? Right field.
Right
Where
field,
No,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
well, no balls go.
Right.
Yep. Because the action. I think it's right field.
Yeah, it's right field
Yep,
because
yep.
yeah.
And sure enough, high pop up. I go to catch it, missed, hit me right between the freaking eyes, breaks
That's
my nose.
exactly what happened to this guy.
Breaks me right, broke my nose.
Did it really?
When my dad picked me up, he was like, "Oh my god," because I had dried blood all over my face.
Oh yeah, you probably look bad. Yeah.
And the eyes were already starting to because it was a couple hours before he came and got me.
Yeah.
So the eyes were already starting to get black.
Yeah, so this guy, Lanny, had similar experience. So, and his dad was very supportive. Now, he was worried that he was going to disappoint his dad because his dad was like a World War II war hero.
Yep,
You know, so he really, really respected his dad. But his dad loved the hell out of him. And so his dad was like, no, I'm committed to helping you do whatever you wanted to do. And then
Same with my dad. Same thing.
yeah. So in a classroom, the teacher, I think, his teacher had asked if anybody, they were talking about the Olympics, if anybody in the class think they could make it to the Olympics. And another kid stood up and says, well, I know who won't make it.
Right. He pointed at Lanny.
Yeah.
That's back in the days too where bullying was kind of tolerated.
Oh,
The teacher probably just said, "Jimmy, now you sit down and be nice."
Yeah. But he felt like a loser. He
Yeah, of
literally,
course.
he felt like a loser. And that really affected him.
Oh yeah. No, same thing. I was the last one to get picked for dodgeball and for a baseball team, and I wanted to be an athlete.
Right.
I went to Pee Wee football and Little League, and
Right.
and I track. I tried them all. Finally, I found one that I stuck with, and that was the big thing.
Yeah.
When you suck, you got to stick with it.
That was wrestling, right?
Right. Yeah,
Right,
wrestling.
wrestling.
Because I sucked my first 2 years, and then I won a match.
Okay.
And I was like, I want more of this. I want to win again. And if you want to win again, you got to be self-governed. You got to do shit on your own.
Yeah.
You can't just practice with the team.
Right.
You've got to put the time in.
So that awakened something in you. That was
Man.
really that and your instance with your older brother.
Yep.
Those were because about the same
Pivotal
time.
moments.
Yeah.
Yep, they were about the same
So
time.
the Pat Mac that we see today, so much of that came out of
Yep,
that was the crucible.
they were both at the same time, right around 14 years old.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask for you to write a book about your time in the military. No, you're not going to do that. But really, that's the more interesting story.
Yep.
Because everything you did in the military was a result of that. But the real personal transformation from caterpillar to butterfly was there. It was in that crucible. That,
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's when you died and rose again.
Yep.
So, so in this case, Lanny went through the same thing, and so when he's a kid, and he was failing at these sports, he hears from a friend about a rifle
Yep.
class, and so he goes to that, and he wants to do that.
Excuse me for a second.
Go ahead. Edit.
All right.
So he goes to that. He goes to this rifle class and is doing that for a bit. And he really, really likes it. But then the guy who was hosting it said, well, we can't do this here at this location anymore. In fact, we can't do this at all anymore.
Wow.
And his dad picked him up and he was so grieved, telling his dad said, hey, I'm your dad. I got your back. And the very next day, to pick up his son from school, he had all the gear, rifles and everything, to start doing it on their own.
Yeah.
He found a new location, and from then on, for the next 2 years, man, it was like
It's so cool.
a few hours a day, 5 days a week.
It's what, it's so cool to have that kind of support mechanism within a parent.
Yeah.
And that's how parents should be. Their life, they're busy as hell, but their lives should revolve around making their family better because you are, the patriarch, you are the king. and you want your subjects to be the best subjects possible.
Right,
You know, you
right.
want to take care of them. You want to make their lives better. You want them to be happy. You want them to see them thrive.
Right. Yeah, so this was a pivotal time for Lanny, and his dad, again, played this key role in getting him ready. But that's really where the point of change happened for him. And from then on, he was on this clear path to the Olympics. And so it says that story we hear so often from like guitar players and others when they were young. You know, they say, well, everybody else was at parties. Well, everybody else was doing this. I was over here doing this.
Yep.
You know? So he was shooting rifles, getting himself ready for the Olympics. And it's really an interesting thing, the process that he goes through, because early on, kind of like what you just described earlier with when you got out of the military, is that he already started to see the necessity of mental management.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and especially, well, in any sport, but a sport that requires that kind of level of concentration. You know, in golf, what do they say? Golf is 10% physical and 90% mental. I could be messing up the numbers. It doesn't matter. You get my freaking point. But in any sport that requires that level of concentration, because, you know, a real physical sport, it requires that level of concentration, but it also requires, you know, like this aggressiveness and this different type of motivation.
Right.
Where this one requires you to be one with yourself, to be at almost at peace, to block shit out, you know, to have that ability to block out the world, to block everything out. Dude, I mean, holy crap, man. Because I've competed in shooting at a national level.
Oh, that's right. You have.
At a world level.
Okay.
At a world level. But at, you know, national level was my biggest, like, personal challenge.
Right.
And that's, and people out there know what this, but national match type shooting. So in order to get EIC, excellence in competition, which I got, you know, distinguished pistol marksman in 2004. It took me a few years to get it, but I was steadfast. I was adamant. I was always working on my own because I wanted that. I wanted that. And you know, and you didn't win them all. Right. You know, it's funny because that that phrase, that one of the first phrases in the book, it doesn't matter if you win or lose until you lose, is so freaking true. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, damn it, man, because winning is good.
Winning's good.
Like I said, when I won my first wrestling match, when I was a loser and I won it, and it was a legit win, my opponent wasn't a fish. I just paid attention in practice, and I used one move effectively, and I was able to stick it and pin a kid, you know, in the third round. So winning is good. You know, the losses, they sucked, and people would pat you on the back and say, hey, better luck next time. Yeah. My coach never said, hey, good job. Right. He never said that when I lost. People say that now. Good job. Yeah. No, it's not a good job. You lost. Right. How was it a good job? Mm-hmm. People say that on the range, and it pisses me off. You know, when I do like El Prez, and it has to be clean, and guy will shoot it, and one of the students is timing him, and he'll say, good job. And I'll look at him, I go, that's not a good job. He missed twice. Yeah. Don't tell him good job. Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's just me.
It's so habitual, you know what I mean, for people to say that now. And
right.
But you're right.
It's obligatory.
Yeah, we're encouraging the wrong thing. In fact, he goes into that to some degree.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
you know,
I forget a lot.
Where he there's certain things you want to, I mean, there are realities that are there. You didn't do well. You didn't do this. But he doesn't want to think about those things. He wants to think only of the good performance, right? So that he can, you know, because that's the old thing when they say, if the coach tells you, hey, don't strike out before you go up to the plate.
Yeah,
well, now you're thinking about striking out. You know what I mean?
I have a note here about that. As a matter of fact, it's deeper in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a note, and I'll bring up a point.
Well, going back to what you said just a second ago about, you know, this shooting as a particular skill set, and the kind of focus and concentration that's required. He has this anecdote where he's talking about being at the Olympics with his buddy, and he said, Jack and I would run 3 to 5 miles a day. Mm-hmm. He said, to force the resting heart rate under 60 beats a minute. He said, because those little things, that heart rate would affect trigger pull, all that sort of stuff, you know. So he said, if you shoot when the heart beats, the movement is severe enough to cost you points. You must shoot between
heartbeats.
What?
How in the hell, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
so you've really got to be dialed into your body. And, you know, that's something that I've always was fascinated by. You know, I was talking to a kung fu guru, older gentleman, he owns a chain of schools and all of that. And I was talking to him about my daughter, and I said, you know, how cerebral she was and whatnot. And I feel like she needed to catch up, you know, on the physical things. And he said something that was, I thought, very illuminating. He said, yeah, she spent a lot of time in her mind. She needs to spend time in her body. You know, spend time. And as we said earlier, we've been vlogging today, shooting video, and we were talking about this earlier, how when we were kids, you know, any given summer day would be filled with tree climbing, bike riding, playing baseball, football, hide and seek,
throwing rocks at the stop sign.
So we were operating, and it's like a multifunctional workout.
Right.
It was like cross training almost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's one day.
That's just one day. So we're working all things in the transverse plane.
Yep.
But you know, but we were very one with our bodies. You know, to watch kids, for example, come in full speed on bikes, jump off the bikes, lay them down, and go into the house.
Right.
I mean, with absolute skill, you know.
No knee pads or helmet either.
No knee pads or helmet. That's right. So it's a good thing, but this is part of this mental process. And I think and I could see again the appeal of sports psychology in your case, because it's such a isolated way of proving, you know, a process that you can now take and apply. And this is really I think what's masterful about what you've done since you've gotten on social media, because I think it's one thing for people to connect to you because of your past and what you've done, and I think it's important. You know, you don't need to hear it, but you know that's the way people identify. But they want to be close to that mindset.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They want a little bit of what you got.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That outlook. And so I think this is a great way for them to do it. The chapter 2 calls it winning as a process. And he said 95% of all winning is done by only 5%
of the participants. Yeah.
And this is, so in other words, but the whole argument of the book, Mac, is that you can cultivate this mental management system, yet only 5% are the actual winners, which shows you
only 5% are going to put the
effort
sweat
in.
equity.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I mean, right there, talent equals skill, and it is acquired, not rewarded.
Yep.
You know, or not awarded. Too many people nowadays. I mean, I could say my kids are guilty of it. They want instant fame because so many people nowadays have gained instant fame through the interwebs and such. Instant fame and recognition. Dude, you got to freaking put in the work, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of people have acquired instant fame through luck, you know, because they have a gimmick and they were like, I wonder if I put this online and people will watch it. 1 million views. Oh, I could monetize that. But, talent equals skill and it is acquired, not awarded, which means you got to put the freaking work in.
Yeah.
You got to put it in. In the same paragraph, this is funny too, because I have an anecdote here. When have you've heard me talk about this? Winners are convinced they will finish first. How often have you heard me say,
"Oh my gosh,
I can beat"? My mindset says I could beat anybody at anything.
Yeah,
that's what my mindset says. I don't care what it is. It could be working out, shooting a bow, putting up Christmas lights, manicuring your lawn. I say that I could beat anybody at anything. Can I really? Nah. But that's what my mindset says.
That's winning in mind.
Yep, winning in mind.
Yep.
100%. Yep. Winners are convinced that they will finish first. Man, so it's funny because as soon as I read that and highlighted that, you know, this morning when I went back and reread some of this stuff, I was thinking about 2 months ago, the neighborhood, we did a archery contest in the neighborhood where it was from tree blinds and ground blinds and off of an ATV, and it was through a second floor house through a window from the kitchen, and I competed in it with the neighborhood. There was about 8 dudes there. The big difference between everybody else competing and me, they all had compound bows. I had a recurve.
Okay.
But I thought, you know what? This is what I'm shooting. This is what I've been training with.
Right.
So I'm going to compete with this. It didn't pan out for me because it's a long bow. So like in blinds and stuff, I was smashing into things. But when I went into it, I was thinking, I'm going to crush everybody. Mm-hmm. I didn't, but I didn't come in last either with a recurve bow.
Well, it reminds me of one of the stories that he tells where him and I think it's the same guy, Jack, were traveling to overseas to an Olympic event. And because there was a chance of luggage getting lost or whatever, they were both bringing 2 guns, so they each put one of their guns in the other's luggage, so in case somebody's luggage got lost, there was always a backup gun. And so they would end up out there not using the gun they originally intended to use, and then there would be inclement weather, like they're over there competing with the Swedes, and it's blizzard-like weather, and so they had to learn quickly, like watching how the Swedes were shooting, that there would be these little slight multi-second breaks in the snowfall, and then the Swedes had learned to shoot during those. So they did it, and they actually so with the wrong rifle and that weather, they still won. Because it was, he said, but the point was not any of that. The point was that those circumstances were against them, but they had winning in mind. They were still convinced they were going to win.
A similar type of scenario. I was competing in the All Army Small Arms Championship, and a lot of this was new to me, this type of shooting. Competitive shooting was new to me, especially with a rifle, stock M16A2 iron sights, 500 yards, prone, and so KD range, known distance with pits and butts and all that stuff. I learned quick by watching like the Ranger snipers. So you have a certain amount of time, the targets pop up and you start engaging. You engage once, the targets go down and it's marked, and the targets come back up. And you could see the mark at 500 yards. You could see it. So I'm shooting right next to a Ranger sniper. Boom, we all start shooting. He doesn't shoot. Targets go down, they come up. Everybody's mark is to the right a little bit, which means the wind is going from left to right. And then he takes a shot. Boom! He just adjusts a little bit. He went off of everybody's mark. I went, I got it, bro. That's what I'm doing from now on. Use everybody else as a wind dummy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It was so freaking clever, but so simple.
Yeah.
It's a competition. This isn't combat. It's a competition. It's a marksmanship competition. Learn to game it.
Right.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the crux of this book is something that you talk about a great deal, and that is performance versus outcome.
Yep.
That's because his whole thing is, if you are outcome oriented, you're over trying.
Yep.
Right, and it just leads to more and more losing, and because you're preoccupied with that winning or whatever, instead of focusing on performance, it's like we said earlier, winning is the outcome of that. So
winning is the outcome.
So the true way to have that winning mindset is to make sure you have a winning performance.
Right. Yep. So, this occurred to me early on, and especially when I started reading, and I didn't know how to verbalize it to people. I didn't know how to tell them, don't worry about the outcome.
Right.
But I was saying, don't worry about the time, don't worry about the score. That's what I was saying. Until I started reading these sports psychology books, and they all say the same thing.
Right.
Don't worry about the freaking outcome.
Right.
And like this one here, I highlighted, they are thinking about the outcome instead of the process. Thinking about outcome equals over trying. So you got to be, and one of the things I tell students now is, if you think about the outcome, it will sabotage your ability to perform. And the probability of achieving the outcome you desire will increase once you let go of the need to have it. It will increase 100%. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around that,
Sure.
especially with guys because we have ego, stuff like that. So they're worried about time and they want to be faster. Put it aside. Put it aside. Think A-zone hit, good steel hit, A-zone hit, good steel hit, etc.
Right.
Eventually, you're going to get faster. You're going to get better. But if you think about that outcome, it will definitely sabotage the ability to perform, man.
So take me through an example of thinking about performance with shooting. What's the process like?
Well, I have several different courses of fire. One of them I call 5-second standard. So in 5-second standard, you start at the 7, you go back to 10, then 15, then 20, etc. And the timers have 5 seconds on them. You do 2 shots from the ready position, 5 seconds. 2 shots from the holster, 5 seconds. 2 shots from the holster, strong hand only, 5 seconds. They have to be all A zones. If you're good at 7, then you move back to 10. Okay. Do the same thing. If you're clean at 10, you move back to 15. A lot of people are shot out at the 7-yard line.
Right.
They'll miss a shot. The reason being, number one, there's a timer there. Now they're shooting those 2 shots in 2.5 seconds. They're not using the time. So I tell them, guys, you need to freaking stay in your lane. Don't worry about the time.
So that's over trying.
Right, over trying. Just at the end of this one cracks me up. When we're done with it, let's say we go to level 3, 15-yard line. I will purposely, because I'm shooting everything with them, with the strong hand, boom, beep, boom, I'll shoot over time. So we'll go up to the targets afterwards, and I say, how many people graduated all 3 levels? Nobody will raise their hand. And they're looking at my target, and it's clean. Right. And I say, I didn't graduate all 3 levels either. But I have another name for this drill in my head. I call this drill, I don't want to tape. And a lot of them get it right away. They start laughing.
Right.
I say, so what that means is I would rather be out as a result of time than to have 2 horrible shots.
Right.
I do not care about the time. Do I really? Yes, I do. Absolutely. But the thing is, but I'm teaching them, don't care about it. Don't care about it. Just put them in the A zone. And then they'll realize, holy shit, this is a lot easier now that I don't have to worry about the time.
So the 5 seconds is a sufficient amount of time.
Absolutely. Most of them are going 2.5, 3 seconds.
But because they're worried about that beep in 5 seconds, they're shooting too fast.
They're trying too hard.
And they're missing.
Yep. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, the over trying. And so when you start to really, obviously he's breaking it down at Olympic level. Mm-hmm. So that's at a whole nother thing. But I think it's when it comes to performance in life, yeah. Yep. I mean, everything.
Well, you bring up a good point here too, with performance in life. This book doesn't apply. It doesn't apply to people who want to be Olympic shooters.
Right.
It applies to everything.
Right.
It applies to, your life as an athlete, your life as a shooter, your life as a businessman, your life as a cog in the system working in a cubicle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's he just happens to use Olympic shooting as his like catalyst, conduit, whatever, to make people perform better. Right. At whatever the skill set is.
Well, it really opens something up. I mentioned to you earlier that I had a conversation with somebody on the way up to your house, and it was a coaching call. And this really was a part of the discussion, even though I wasn't necessarily using the terms, but now that we're talking about it, process or performance versus outcome, I think, and this is just in relation to relationships, is, when things are getting on the rocks in a relationship. And so you kind of get focused. You start over trying. Yep. Right? Because the pressure is on and she's going to leave or what have you. Now you're washing the dishes and bringing flowers and you want to have the date nights and all these sorts of things because you were always focused on outcome. Mm-hmm. But if you're focused on process, if you're focused on performance, then you care about all of those Mondays throughout your married life, all of those Tuesdays, when all that life that's lived in the meantime. Yep. You know what I mean? When you could have been helping out when you could have been speaking softly, when you could have been dating her, even though you were married. But in other words, you just focus on those things. It's like I've got a rose bush out front, and those rose buds, they all close up at night, right? And if I want to show everybody how pretty my flowers are, and I take them out, I'd have to try to pull it, and what happens? It'll fall apart.
Yeah.
But if you just leave it, and when the sun comes out and warms it, it'll open up by itself. And we do that sometimes, kind of force our partner open as opposed to, no, let me change my process.
Right.
Let me focus more on the everyday, the little things,
good.
until
I
they begin to open up again. So it really is a universal application. But still, we're dudes. We like to do stuff, and it's still important for us to, even if we're just doing something as a hobby, to do it well.
Right.
Shooting with you're not out there shooting 250 arrows a day with a recurve just for grins and giggles.
Right.
You want to get better.
I want to get better. In order to do that, you got to put in the reps.
In order to kick all your neighbors' ass
That's right.
in the next neighborhood competition.
Next year, I'm still gonna shoot a recurve next year. Next year's competition.
And so they've all got the what you call them? Compound bows?
Yeah.
Yeah, compound bows. Those are the ones with all the little gears and things. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so he talks a lot about stuff that's also kind of run-of-the-mill mental management stuff. Affirmation.
Yeah.
These types of things. And this is stuff we've all heard before, but it really is important. Your self-talk is really important.
Yeah, and a lot of self-improvement books, talk about that, affirmations and stuff. Me personally, I don't need affirmations. I don't need to look in the mirror and say, what's his name on old school SNL? Smalley.
Yeah. Travis Smalley?
No. Anyway, it's freaking Kurt something Smalley.
It's a character that Al Franken did.
Right, Al Franken, You're good. Anyway.
Yeah.
It was all this affirmation stuff because he ran like that skit was all about Art Smalley. Art.
I don't remember.
Shit! Damn it!
Somebody's
out there listening, going, "Damn it! It's so and so Smalley." But I personally do not need affirmation like that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, he talked about the self-image makes you act like you.
Right.
Now, something that I was thinking about this morning is like you and I. This is one thing we have in common. We ooze confidence. But the reason is, early on, we put ourselves into uncomfortable situations. And the biggest one is talking in front of a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
So we both did that for years and years and years. Yeah. And these aren't people you know.
No.
These are strangers. So that's a good way to freaking build confidence, because most people cannot do it. I know like real badass dudes, like in special ops, like special forces as a Green Beret, when you do FIDS, foreign internal defense, you have to teach classes.
Right.
Or you have to give hip pocket training to other soldiers, or they could be foreign soldiers.
Yeah.
And the most badass dudes I know would fall apart. And you could tell that they're not confident because every other word is an F-bomb. Which means they're not confident. They need to freaking throw that stuff in there. That's like their self-affirmation. I'm a badass. I'm a badass. Effing. It's every other word. But, that's one of the things that we both have in common. And I think that's why is we ooze confidence is because we put ourselves into uncomfortable situations early on.
It's interesting that I forget what it is, but it's like, it's in the top 5, if not top 3 greatest fears that people have. Like next to fear of death.
Right. Yep. It's dentists talking in front of a crowd.
And death.
Right. Death. Yeah.
So, and I remember saying this one time about us. I said, I think you could take Mac and I, either one of us, wake us up out of a dead sleep, throw us in a car, and drive us to a stadium where there's 20,000 people.
Yep.
Give us the microphone, and we get to choose a topic, and we could deliver speeches that would sound as if they were prepared beforehand.
Yes,
out of a dead
100%. Yep, yep. It's funny. So many times people will ask me, "Hey, can you talk to this group or that group?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I just talked to a bunch of SWAT cops, in Raleigh, and I remember the guy asking me. He said, "Hey, don't be nervous. It doesn't matter." I'm like, "I'm not nervous." Well, that was another note I put down here.
Yeah.
I perform best under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Give me pressure, like in shooting classes. And I said, "Let me demo this for you."
Right.
And they were like, "Oh man, we're all watching." I'm like, "Good, watch me under a microscope."
That's right.
I don't care. I don't care because I've done it so much.
Right.
Another good anecdote because, so much of this, like the mental game. I think about golf too because I started golfing a few years ago, and I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I'm a solid bogey golfer. Two points on that. So one is performance based. So my objective on a golf course, 18 holes, is to see if I could keep one ball through 18 holes. Because most people go through a series of balls.
Right.
They'll shank them into a pond, into the woods, or whatever. Which means I have to put the ego aside. Can I make this with a 7-iron? Can I bash it with a 7-iron? Or can I chip it over here with a 9 and then hit it with an 8?
Right.
The probability of that is much greater.
Just adding a stroke.
I'm going to add a stroke. But guess what? I'm going to keep that ball too.
Keep the ball, right.
So, and the other thing is the under pressure. I got to tell this anecdote because this one kills me. I go to the same golf course. They know me there. And I'm always the first one out because I don't want anybody in front of me and I don't want anybody to wait on me.
Right.
And it only takes me an hour and 40 minutes to freaking hit 18 holes because I'm by myself. Nobody's in front of me. And I'm hitting them straight. One day I go to the golf course and the manager said, "Hey, Mac, can you play the back 9 first? We're doing something on the front 9. No problem. I'll do the back 9 first." So I go ahead and do that. And I go to the tee box number 1 now on the front 9. And I bash it. And I see that there's dudes up there getting ready for hole number 2. And I catch right up to them. And they're a foursome. So there's 4 dudes all dressed in their golf shit, and I'm out there with metal bracelets and skulls and crap and a pointy goatee. And I say, "Hey guys, my name's Mac. I just hit the back 9 because this and that. I was wondering if I could golf in front of you." And these guys were dicks, bro. See, a lot of golfers are dicks.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'm not a dick. Right. But they're all looking at me and they're looking at each other like. They didn't want this to happen. And I said, I will not slow you down. I swear to God. Yeah. There's 4 of you, there's 1 of me.
Right.
And they go, begrudgingly, and this hole was a par 3. And I tee up about this high off the ground with a 7-iron. And I freaking bash, they're all watching me. I bash it, boom, straight up in the air, boom, sticks about 6 inches from the freaking from the hole. Oh, and I said, "Told you I wouldn't slow you down." And I freaking boogie. I mean, it was my best golf shot ever, but it was in front of 4 freaking dickheads.
Yeah,
so
that's
performing
pressure,
under pressure.
Yeah.
But I was so confident. I was like, man, these dudes, because I could feel it. They're burning a hole in the back of my head, as they were watching me. But I perform best under pressure, so that's another anecdote I had here.
Well, and I mean that's like he said at the outset. It was about being able to do that, thinking and performing under pressure, right? So it's in order to do that, you have to become focused on the process itself. So whether it's on the range, when you watch your videos or have been in some of your live courses. You break down what you're doing, sight, squeeze, do this, do this. That's all process.
Right.
So it's so funny. Somebody had asked, they go, "Wait a minute. So what's the difference between the sights and the squeezes?" He said, no, he's talking about simultaneous, but he can't say sight and squeeze at the same time. Right. So he says sight, squeeze, right. Because they're happening simultaneously. Right. Yes. But that's focus. That's a great example of you literally broadcasting. If we could hook up an audio system to your mind, what's literally happening at that time. Now, what he talks about is conscious mind, subconscious mind,
Right.
and self-image.
Dude, how much do I talk about that? The conscious versus the subconscious.
All the time.
So a lot of that a lot of my training methodology has evolved because I read these books.
Right.
I didn't come up with this shit.
Right.
You know, and neither did he. He was coached by
You just
somebody.
communicate him better.
Yeah, well, and he communicated it to me better.
right.
So now I am doing my part to communicate it better to other
Yeah.
people too. I tell people you have to perform the appropriate amount of meaningful repetitions until you can perform something at an intuitive or subconscious level. And the reason we need to do that, and he talks about it in here too, is because there's conscious and there's subconscious mind.
Right.
See, we could only do one thing at a time,
Right.
conscious level,
Yeah.
like cognitive thought,
So
you know?
no multitasking.
Right. But the thing is, subconscious can do other stuff,
Right.
but we're not truly multitaskers. You know, we could task switch, task stack, perform certain tasks intuitively. And in order to perform tasks intuitively, you have to put in the reps. So it's a martial arts thing. I think it's called Mushin, where you think about it until you don't have to think about it.
Okay.
You know, Bruce Lee talked about this all the time.
Right.
You know, but that takes work and it takes repetitions. And for some people, it's hard to explain. They say, well, how many? I'm like, I don't freaking know. So my wrestling coach, when I was in my junior year, I started getting good because between 10th and 11th grade, I went to the college in summer and I wrestled with collegiate athletes, and that opened me, that
Right.
freaking, and then I started freaking beefing up and stuff. I was lifting weights. I was a changed person when I came back into high school in 11th grade. But I remember him telling me, if you practice a move 1,000 times, you will be able to do it in every match. And I counted. So it was a throwdown for me.
Right.
Throwdown. Not the heavy metal band,
That's right.
but a throwdown. So basically, like a fireman's carry into a anyway. So people wrestled who know what a throwdown is, and then there's a contingency for a throwdown. That was a dump in case the guy sprawled too hard. But I practiced it 1,000 times. I kind of checked it off. At home at night, I would go home and how many times did I do a throwdown in practice? And I would check them off. And by the end of that season, that wrestling season, I'd practiced it 1,000 times. The next year, I practiced it more, and I broke the takedown record in my senior year.
Wow.
And most of them were throwdown or throwdown to a dump.
Right.
Yep.
So you're getting it down to the subconscious
Yep.
level so that your conscious mind can invest in other things.
Yeah, like contingency planning.
Contingency, that's a good point.
Yeah, contingency planning. So contingency planning, a lot of people, and he talks about it in here too. I mean, we don't plan to fail, but we fail to plan, that kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
We can't. So I tell people, and I don't know if he says it in here. I think he does, but in different terms. Don't look where you don't want to go.
Okay.
Right? Don't look where you don't want to go. But if you shit the bed, if your plan goes south, you got to instantly, you got to fail quickly. You got to
Right.
instantly get your head back in the mix
Right.
because you have to program. And I do this in life, and we talked about this on one of the Zoom calls. Is you have to understand that bad things will happen
Yeah.
in life, in a competition. They will happen. You don't plan for. I mean, you don't anticipate them,
Right.
but you have to plan for them, right? So you have to plan contingencies because bad things will happen. In every competition? No, of course not. In everyday life? No, not every day. But I know that bad shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself that. I mean, I do not anticipate it. I do not wish for it on myself or others, but I know it will. I know it will. And I want to be able to rebound quickly. I want to go right into contingency planning mode. You know, so the whole fail quickly versus spending this much time failing or this much time failing. I want to spend as little time failing as possible.
So you teach so much on a flat range, for example, and so you're adding things like the timer and movement and things to try to make it not so flat, right? But if the way if your ability to draw and sight and trigger and all of these things are intuitive, if you've done enough reps for them to be subconscious, then your conscious mind has the ability to be tactical in terms of, because you're not going to, when you need these skill sets, it's not when you're on a range, it's the Walmart shooting or
Right.
something like that. Because
Yeah.
everybody thinks, okay, well, if I was in that situation, I would,
Yeah.
Well, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know what your regret. You don't know what the terrain is. You have no idea. So the last thing you want to be thinking about is, okay, how do I,
Right.
how do I draw? How do I? So you haven't done enough reps for that
Yep.
to. You want that to be subconscious so that you can move around with the pistol like it's nothing.
How do
Just
I draw
focused
and
on
see
where you're
cover?
moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
So, so conscious mind, subconscious mind, and then self-image. Now, these things all intertwine, and he gets into details with little drawings and things to illustrations, diagrams to show you how they interact with each other. I mean, we could spend all day talking about this. We don't have that kind of time, obviously. But this is what you're working on. And ultimately, it's going to get to your self-image because, as Max said earlier, the self-image is really that's who you are.
Yep.
That's who you are. And you wouldn't think that these things, conscious mind and subconscious mind, would relate initially to self-image, but they do.
Absolutely. One of the things I tell my students on a 2-day shooting course before we start the second day, because there's a couple exercises that when I explain them, they're looking at me like it's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
When I tell them, hey, we're going to shoot strong hand 50 yards, 50 with a pistol. They're like, I've never gone beyond 15. So before that, I tell them this, like, hey, guys, the mind navigates the body. In other words, how we think will determine how we perform. But we cannot outperform our self-image. We can't.
Yeah.
And then limits begin where vision ends.
Yep.
Yep. So, but we cannot outperform our self-image. Self-image is very, very important. So, and it's hard to improve on it. One of the things that was taught to me by, I forget, it was some performance enhancement type of group that was working with the asymmetrical warfare group. But, and I thought this was cool as hell. This one gal told me to play a highlight reel. So as seen from behind and above, like there's a camera up and behind you, and see yourself going through this shooting exercise and see yourself succeeding.
Right.
Just play that highlight reel. Also play one where you missed something and you had to go into contingency.
Yeah.
Like you had to do an extra mag change.
Right.
You had to come out of cover in a different spot. But play the succeeding one again. See yourself succeed over and over and over again. So that is a way to help improve that, like, self-image, because a lot of people don't have a positive mental image of themselves.
Yeah, he talks a lot about that, about, rehearsing. That there were some people who couldn't get to certain, facilities and whatnot to practice for even an Olympic event. And so they spent the night just seeing it in their mind, going through the whole process in their mind. And the more you do that, the better you'll have the ability to visualize. And, visualization, again, is something that people hear a lot about in relation to self-improvement, but they don't necessarily practice it. Well, they practice it a lot. It's just negative.
Right. Yep.
Right. I used to tell people all the time, I said, I remember when I would listen to my kids when they were young playing in the room, whether with the dolls or army men or something like that, and how they could occupy themselves for so long, where if we tried to do that, we wouldn't last a few minutes, right? Well, how can they sit there and do that? Well, it's because in their imagination, they put themselves in the stories that they're creating.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sure.
We do the same thing. It's just that our stories now are a lot more scary.
Yeah.
Right? So we're imagining the worst: getting fired, wife leaving you, getting guy got cancer, whatever it may be. I'm going to fail, and so we don't spend much time utilizing this powerful imaginative thing. But you could do that. I remember when I was a kid working on like free throws, and I would do that. I said, okay, well, what if I just keep seeing myself doing successful free throws? Will that naturally improve? Because it still requires a skill. You still have to do that and feel the weight of the ball and know how much pressure. But it did actually improve. I wasn't hitting every one of them, but I was hitting more because I don't know whether it's just you suppressed that fear or lack of assurance. But again, it freed you up to use your mind for a better execution.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, all professional athletes or professionals in any kind of work environment who are at top of their game, they absolutely freaking visualize success.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Yep. Yep. I know. I do that in everything I do, even now. And it could be menial tasks.
Right.
Like mowing the lawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to be so good. This is going to be so good. I'm going to manicure those pine needle islands like you won't believe. And I can see it before I do it.
Yeah. It was like you said earlier, I forget how you said, but it's, the body and the emotions are going to follow what the mind is doing, because the body and the emotions they can only be controlled or determined by whatever thought is held in the mind.
Yep.
That's why you can worry yourself to death. It's always it's fascinating that two people can get on an airplane. One is scared to death.
Yeah.
And the other goes right to sleep. Mm-hmm. One releases endorphins, one releases adrenaline. Same airplane.
Yep.
But it has nothing to do with the actual physical circumstances. It's completely determined by the individual's interpretation of what an airplane means. Mm-hmm. One, just another place to sleep till I get to my destination. To another, it's an object that's going to fall out of the sky.
Right.
But that's
an object of doom.
But that's the thing, is that their body is releasing adrenaline and cortisol.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The body is reacting to something that's not real.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What does Blauer say? Fear, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Mac, anything else you want to add to?
No, I mean, you know what? The only other thing, because I was rereading this, is and I was trying to look for it right here. Lanny did the whiteboards, man. He did the whiteboards. Mm-hmm. So jotting the notes down on the whiteboards. Here it is. If it's on the calendar, it will get done. Yep. Put your plans on a calendar. I use both a large monthly calendar in my office and a day planner. I love that. I mean, Joe and I were talking about that earlier when we were snacking in the kitchen. How I rely on those so much. The year planner, not so much. I mean, It's there. But the month or the next couple of weeks and that day, the stuff that has to get done the next day, so freaking important, especially if you're because there's so many people who say, how can I get more organized?
Right.
Well, there's one way of doing it right there. Put your thoughts down on it, because in your mind, they're all jumbled and you're trying to catch up. You're like, oh, this one, that's one. Get those whiteboards, so you have one's in my laundry room and I pass it several times a day. That's this month, next couple weeks, right. What happens? And the one on my refrigerator is basically tomorrow. What needs to be done tomorrow. It's nice when they're cleared, but
well, it goes back. I mean, if anybody's listened to you for any length of time, they've heard you talk about whiteboard. Everybody in the squad,
yep. They all have whiteboards.
They all have whiteboards because of how much Mac has placed an emphasis on that. And I think sometimes, this gets into the over trying. You're not controlled by the whiteboards. The whiteboards are there to help you with your thinking.
Correct.
Keep you moving. And if something doesn't get done, you're not going to trip about it. Just goes to the next day.
Goes over to the next day.
Yeah.
Roll over.
So, but what it does is it just gives you those targets. Again, keeps it off of your mind because you can just look it up. See, because if we don't have that, then we can. It's one thing to have a lot to do. It's another thing to think about the fact that you have a lot to do.
Right.
That's what messes most of us up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We dread it.
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
What I like to say, the more you talk about how long it's going to take and how hard it's going to be, then the longer it's going to take and the harder it's going to be, right?
Yep.
So we've got to put that aside, and the whiteboards are a great way to do that. But so Lanny was talking about it in the book. Your back's like, so there's a lot of parallels between between him and yourself.
Yep.
All right, so Lanny Basham's With Winning in Mind, you guys. If we should have like a Amazon affiliate link.
Right. No kidding. Yeah.
He owes us. But anyway, so that great book. I encourage you guys. It's a quick read, very easy, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. Q&A.
Cool.
Pat Mac. So
Hey.
I snagged a bunch of these questions for Mac off of YouTube comments, which means now that I'm saying that, and this is seen on YouTube, we'll end up with more questions as people get savvy to where we're getting these from. So Q&A is always a fun part of this. I really want to get the best out of Mac, but I don't necessarily know sometimes what people want to hear, so it's good to, for them to ask the questions.
These are pretty cool.
All right, so question number 1, Mac, big fan. One thing you always say is check your work through your sights. I find on a drill like this, my students start snatching the pistol back sooner and sooner. How do I get them to check their work through their sights and not snatch back too soon?
Very difficult one, right? Because this is a training-itis issue. I call it training-itis because they were taught that, because they shoot and snatch the pistol back. It's a real pet peeve of mine. So one is I demonstrate it, and I talk about the importance. I said, just because you're firing one shot does not mean you're not training for 2, for 5, for 10.
Okay.
You need to, so instead of saying follow through, I now say check your work to your sights. Get ready. If the drill requires 1, always get ready for the second. If the drill requires 5, always get ready for number 6. Now, when it's most telling and when you make money is when you pull out steel. That's where the money is in this right here. Because now you're timing them, right? So you're seeing how fast they can go with single shot from the holster. And I say, if you miss, make it up. And the people who do not practice checking your work through your sights, that's when they get embarrassed. Because they'll throw the pistol out there, miss, and they'll snatch it back. And they'll go, oh, shit, ding. So do it on steel. And, man, it'll be telling. It'll be real telling. And then they'll figure it out. Then they'll go, oh, okay, now I see. Yes, because if I miss, I need to follow up.
So could you mark in your own mind when that started to happen, when people started to do that? Or was that always the case with people snatching?
Oh, always the case.
Okay.
Yeah, out here in the world
Right.
versus at the unit. Yeah, always the case.
So now, did guys do that at the unit early on and they got corrected for it?
I don't remember it ever happening there.
Okay.
So.
All right. Number 2, why realign before reset?
So what I tell people is when I'm demonstrating pistol marksmanship, I talk through the process. Sight, squeeze, boom. The gun fires, realign the sights, reset the trigger. The reason realign before reset is because it happens first, because I want both of them to be deliberate initially. I want hundreds of reps deliberately until we could do them fast. But the gun always realigns before we could deliberately click, reset the trigger.
Right.
There it is. Boom. Because it's going to happen first, and they need to be both deliberate.
So are people coming off the trigger?
Oh, yeah.
Too fast?
It's a hard one. It's a hard one to for a lot of people to wrap their heads around. A lot of people will they'll just squeeze the shit out of the trigger. They'll just snatch it,
Right.
boom, and the finger will come right off.
Okay.
So they're not checking their work for their sights, not getting ready for the next
Right.
shot. They're not realigning. They're not resetting.
Question number 3 this is in relation to a video that we posted that was one of the clips from the Zoom call. You were talking about superstars, rock stars in special forces.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
got
Remember that?
it. Yeah. Because I read this. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
So what characteristics do the rock stars or the superstars have? What is it that makes them better?
Well, they have an abundance of confidence,
Right.
because they perform better than everybody else. So it's not this false.
So they're
confidence.
still unreachable.
Yeah. They're just badass, man. They outperform everybody else. They're super confident without being arrogant about it.
Right.
And that oozing confidence thing is cool as shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good thing to have confidence without being cocky.
Right.
Without being cocky. Yeah. So that's what they have.
Well, let me mention this because I've been involved in personal development and all that sort of thing in my world for a very, very long time, before the mental motivator thing. A lot of coaching, a lot of teaching, a lot of that sort of stuff. So this whole thing about excellence has always been fascinating to me.
Yep.
So it's gone to a different level since I met you, because we're talking about things like this, elite, that sort of thing. Well, there's also an interesting thing about the unit versus other special forces groups because, and to me, it kind of makes sense about their selection process and who they select. Because the one thing that must be the case with someone like yourself being selected, the one thing that must be the case is they must be independent, which means they are not dependent on others, circumstances, etc. So in other words, they have, which a lot of the selection process, you are by yourself.
Right.
Whereas, for example, maybe set over against the Navy SEALs, through their BUDS training, it's constantly a team thing. It's a bunch of guys around the boat, bunch of guys lifting the logs, a bunch of guys, and they all suffer for it. So they're competing and working together as teams. Whereas for you guys, it's a very lonesome trail, literally, that you're going through. But what that demonstrates is the self-dependence. And I'm not misstating that.
No.
That is
Self-dependence, self-reliance.
In other words, you are not. There are so many people, whether they're entitled, victim mentality, those who are on welfare or what have you. You become very dependent upon institutions, very dependent upon others, very dependent upon the system that is around you. So therefore, if the system breaks down, you're sunk. There's no innovation. There's no resourcefulness. There's no survival in you. So it's important for, especially in the Army's Tier 1 unit, to be able to select people who can operate completely independently. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And so I guess the superstars are the most independent.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Because a lot of people can be easily taken out of the mix just simply because something breaks down outside of them or their own body.
Yeah.
Breaks down and they're taken out. So you have to be mentally and emotionally independent, which means completely
good observation.
Self-reliant, right?
Perfect.
Number 4, how can one begin to become, this is a great question, how can one begin to become situationally aware? What are the key items or steps? You've talked about training kids in this.
Yeah.
But where does a grown-up person who's now discovering the importance of this
start? Begin to become. Begin.
Yeah.
To become.
So before.
One is get out of 45-degree syndrome, right? Get your head out of your phone. Right. In other words, get your head out of your ass.
Right.
So let's take walking on the street, in a restaurant, that kind of thing. Just relax. Just look around. Relax, because you don't want your demeanor to be out of whack.
Sure.
Because now you could look like a threat if you're freaking, checking everybody out. You look like a nervous wreck. Right. Just relax. And the other thing is see things. Don't look for things.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think Varg Freeborn talks about that in one of his books. But I'm probably saying it wrong. But he put it. I think that's how he put it. Was see things, don't look for things.
Right.
Which is a cool way of explaining it. But yeah, you just want to pick up information, just begin, because begin to become, that was so funny. Yeah. Get your head out of your ass. Number 1, get your head out. In other words, off your phone when you're out and about and just look around, just see things. Yeah. And it's funny because the more you just see, the more information you'll start picking up.
Yeah. So people can think, which is often a criticism we might hear is, oh, well, that's just paranoid.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, but it's all, one could argue it's, you're interested.
Yeah.
You're looking around. You want to see those people over there. You want to see that door. You want to see that car. I'm just interested. Right. When people are sitting with me outside of the pub, they don't, and I don't know them, I'm looking around, but I'm not trying to observe stuff. I'm just being observant.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, right.
That is a big difference.
Yeah. And I'm doing it nonchalantly, casually. And it's funny because a lot of the times, I'm looking at people in cars, but I'm also looking at birds and flowers too while I'm sitting there.
Well, there's the over-trying again because a guy can get a little too serious about this stuff, and now he's no longer fun for his family to be out with. Well,
and not only that, but if the guy's looking for things, he could become target fixated. And now he's not seeing the big picture.
Right.
He's getting sucked into one thing. And that's easy to do. Let's say a guy walks down the street and he's open carry. That's an easy thing to get sucked into.
Right.
Because you're looking at him without seeing anything else.
Right. Right.
Yeah, just be observant without having to.
Just begin to become.
Yep. Begin to become.
Number 5. What's the difference between motivation and self-discipline? Which one is more important to you?
Well, so the difference is motivation is the emotion of wanting to do something,
Yes.
right? It's emotion. It's an emotional thing. You want to do something. Where self-discipline is doing the things that need to be done, even if you don't want to do them.
Even if you don't feel like doing it.
Even if you don't feel like doing it, right? So which one is more important? No freaking way I can answer that, because, we've talked about it. I have some health issues, and I can't rely strictly on motivation anymore.
Right.
Which sucks, man, because usually I'm motivated. So it sucks, bro. It sucks. So now I have to rely on discipline too, the process.
I guess I would say self-discipline is the more important, only because it's the one that always works.
Oh, no. Yeah, good. Because I'm using that as a fallback now.
Yeah.
It's a backstop. Yeah, no, I would say that too.
Because how
good.
many times have you been asked, Max? 'Cause I know I've been asked this a ton. How do you stay motivated every day? I don't.
Right. Me neither. Yep.
So the issue is, what do you mean? Just to feel like you always want to do stuff every day? Nobody gets up wanting be that all the time. You have to. It's getting yourself, as you said, to do the things you don't feel like doing, because they just need to be done. Number 6, as food and gas become more expensive, community seems crucial to survival. Any tips on how to build a community, how to recruit the right people, how to manage a group of people with all the different egos, basic leadership, etc.?
Yeah, the first community you want to build is within the confines of your castle.
Yeah,
it's your family. So I'm there's no way I'm interested in building a community.
Right.
No way. Now I have community, right?
Right.
I understand the importance of it. But one is, I prep, but my neighbors don't know what I have.
Right.
There's no freaking way I'm going to disclose that shit.
Right.
There's no way I disclose that I have like extra gas and all this food and water and all this stuff. I don't disclose that to my neighbors. Mm-hmm. Do I trust my neighbors? Absolutely I do. I've got good neighbors. And I know if shit hits the fan, we will build a community.
Right.
But I'm not going to do that ahead of schedule.
So you're not going out creating the neighborhood watch necessarily?
No, not necessarily. Now, we have a pretty good
Your community is unique.
Yeah, because we have a neighborhood alert system, and we have comms, and we chit chat a lot, and it's unique in different ways that I won't disclose right here, but it is pretty good. But I'm not going to recruit, and I'm not going to worry about managing different egos. Any of that stuff. I personally am not. I want my wife and my kids to be self-reliant, self-sufficient. I want them to feel
first of all, you're not a burden to your neighbors or your existing community.
Correct.
That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, because you are taking care of your own, then should the shit hit the fan, as you say, then you guys are ready to be a resourceful community participant, because under the and I think people are just thinking in what's happening politically, and whether it's gun control or inflation or food shortages, they're trying. Well, do we need to pool together and start organizing at the local level and that kind of thing? I think if things went down in general, I think your community would be would be activated.
We would thrive.
Yeah.
It would act right. Then it would activate.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of you the other day. I was out with my dogs, and I saw somebody who, because of the storms that came through, the tree had come down, and it made me think of Mac, who, like, when he knows the ice storms or whatever are coming, he's like already getting his chainsaw together.
Yep.
The
Chainsaws,
night before.
ropes, come-alongs, all that stuff. Yep. Prepping all that stuff the night before. Gas, lights.
But then when you go out, it's not uncommon to see some of your mates.
Yeah, doing the same thing.
Doing the
I'm
same
like, dang,
thing.
you guys beat me to it. Damn it, man.
So there you go. Number 7. Matt, can you explain how cardio is achieved in CST, combat strength training?
Combat strength training. Yep, because the format, the recipe for success in CST is to work in anaerobic chunks in circuit to near metabolic threshold to meet an aerobic goal. So you're basically working out for 30 to 35 minutes in circuit.
Right.
So the heart rate is always up.
Right.
It's always escalated, and you're always breathing hard. Right. So there's your cardio.
So
30 minutes.
How many times? I know, because I know I've seen the question asked a dozen times. How many times have you seen the question, where do you fit in cardio?
Right. Oh, tons. Yeah. Yeah. I fit in cardio every day. Yep. It's every day because I do CST.
Somebody had asked it on one of the YouTube videos that I posted where you're doing the CST. You had the whiteboard out, remember?
I think people think cardio is just running.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's what they think.
Yeah. When do you get on the
right
this thing or the stair stepper or whatever, Do you do it fasted?
Stuart Smalley.
Stuart Smalley, you did it.
All right.
Dude, you're not as old as you say you are. All right, number 8. What's the strangest thing you've ever witnessed or heard of out in the backwoods? And now by backwoods, he's referring to Montana.
Oh, really? Oh, shit, man. Because I wrote a bunch of stuff
go
down.
ahead.
But well, I love that question because I just read backwoods,
Right.
I didn't know he was referring to Montana. So nothing strange or nothing strange, just a lot of good nature and close encounter with Grizz.
Well,
so strange shit was like, the voodoo worshipers I talked about in the SF course. I ran into voodoo worshipers one night at 2 a.m. Another one before I joined the Army, a friend of mine, and we were hiking on part of the Appalachian Trail, and we ran into a freaking suicide. Dude hung.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really? He was dead?
Oh, yeah. For days, bro. It was we smelled him first.
Oh, my gosh.
So we had to go to the closest town and, tell the sheriff's office.
Wow.
Another one was, the hillbilly in Selection.
Right.
Yep. And then, so sound heard. Dude, this is a good one, and hunters will appreciate this one. The sound of a wood duck in a swamp. Sounds like a baby crying.
Really?
Yeah, so way out in a swamp somewhere, and you hear this. It's like, what in the hell is that sound? Anyway, there's a few of them.
I was like that on our fishing trip, and you were like, those are frogs, bro.
Yeah.
All of them? All right. Number 9. What makes a great or better husband? Can you provide a short list of things to work on?
Man, this list could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier. Here's a short list, and no particular order. So my bride is my queen. I call her that. I respect her. She is the queen of the castle.
Yeah.
I consider myself a step below her in the castle. I really do.
Okay.
She is the matriarch, and she rules the roost, and I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I will follow freaking orders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will, and I am, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I mean, I don't say it like
Right,
that,
right.
but if she asks me to do something, I'm like, yep, I will get it done.
Yeah.
If I can't get it done right now, I say I'm putting it on my whiteboard. I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Another one is, because a lot of guys and gals, they give up on this. They're like, well, I'm married. Fuck it. They don't look good anymore.
Right.
Take care of yourself. Groom, take care of your physique, wax your freaking nose hairs, that kind of shit. Surprise her. So there's too many people, and I kind of hate this term because I think it's obligatory where people say date night. You gotta have a date night.
Right.
We don't have a date night.
Yeah.
We don't have a specific day where we have date night, nor do I have an obligatory I love you. That's a big pet peeve of mine. Before you hang up the phone, I love you too. It's meaningless. It's lost its fucking meaning. I will not do that. There's probably, I will probably 2 times a week tell Rebecca, Rebecca, I will look her in the eyes. I say, I am in love with you. I am 100% absolutely smitten. But now there's meaning there. But I will tell her why.
Right.
The obligatory I love yous, freaking hate them. Surprise her with those date nights versus having one. You know, surprise her with flowers. Surprise her with concert tickets. Right. Total respect. Already talked about that one. Share things, share activities, share stuff. Do what she likes to do, even if you freaking hate it and you don't want to do it.
Right.
Listen when you don't feel like listening. You come home from work, you're tired at the end of the day, whatever. If she wants to freaking vent, let her vent and just nod. Be there for that. Be there for her, you know? If she needs to vent, you have to let her vent, man. You know, you got to. And it's so funny because Rebecca's done that plenty of times, and I'll sit there and listen, and she'll go, man, I am so sorry for venting, and thank you so much for listening. Because they'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Rebecca always does. Selflessness is a big one. You know, in my mind, Rebecca comes first. You know, I make her coffee in the morning first before me. You know, I do things first. She'll have the first bite. She'll have the first this. She'll have the, you know, the first choice of seat, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And another big one, man, because I think guys probably suck at this, is turn her on, man. Hook her up. I like to pride myself on saying that I am not going to finish first. But once again, everything's a competition. Even that. So in intimacy, I am not finishing first.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
Hell no.
Isn't it amazing? You're talking about little things.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
These are little things.
Those are all little things. Yeah.
We're not talking about the big. Guys think, all right, I got to take her to Hawaii.
Right. Nope.
And then you'll live off of that for 3 years. Hey, I took you to Hawaii.
Right.
3 years later, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this made me think of something. There was a woman on my Facebook page. I remember her post the other day. She'd been on some dating sites or whatever, and so she would keep posting all these, you know, weirdos who've been, I guess, messaging her. But she said this. She goes, "I've received no less than 10 of these since the last time I posted one." I guess, you know, guys. Yeah, right. She says, someone's got to know a guy who is age appropriate, has good hygiene, financially stable, and a great personality.
Right.
They're not asking for much.
No. Yeah. See, the hygiene thing, I think is.
I think it is.
I do not want to be gross. That's like one of my biggest fears. Is I don't want just now when we were RVing, I went to like a communal toilet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of using the camper one, because one, I didn't want to hear her. I didn't want her to hear me go and freaking potty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing it dirty. And there was other dudes in there. And I came back and I said, Rebecca, man, I am so sorry if this is ever me, but guys are gross. She goes, oh yeah, but women are too. Women can be gross too. I said, yeah, but that's one of my, I don't want to be gross in front of her. I don't want to have freaking nasty breath, shit in my teeth, freaking hairs coming out of my nostril, a neared, you know, a neck beard,
right?
Ungroomed, BO. I mean, that shit happens, you know. Yeah. But like skid marks and stuff like that. Are you freaking kidding me? Bro, I'm not 4. I remember a guy asked me because I saw his underwear. Oh my God. And I was like, what in the hell? And this is a grown man. And he goes, what? Tell me you don't have skid marks. I go, hell no. I'm not 4 years old, bro.
Get you some baby wipes.
Yeah, what the fuck? Damn.
Hose it down.
But it was so freaking like normal for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, tell me you don't have skid marks. Damn straight. I mean, unless I have an accident, which accidents do happen.
He's like, I have no skid marks on my black underwear.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Why do you call Rebecca Rebecca? How did that start?
So easy. So if you're British or a Bostonian, any word that ends in a vowel also has an R on it. Like listen to anybody from Boston. Hey, you want some pizza? You know?
Yeah.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Yep. And Brits will do the same thing. So that we were sharing pints with this one Brit early on in our relationship. I forget his name. But he would say, Rebecca. And it was always a little bit of an R
at the end.
Rebecca. So it just went from there. So I started calling her Rebecca. And man, it really caught on.
Oh, yeah. Everybody hears it. Yeah.
Everybody in her work calls her Becker.
Oh,
You know, like her friends too, like Ella.
Yeah.
I call her Eller. And everybody calls her Eller now. You know, it's like, but a lot of them don't know why.
yeah, yeah.
It's just funny.
That's an interesting question.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Number 11, how often should someone disassemble and clean their gun?
It depends on how often you shoot. So if you shoot a couple times a month, then you're probably gonna, like, for me, it's like every 3,000 rounds.
Right.
You know, so a couple months. Now, if you shoot once a year, then you need to do it, even if it's 100 rounds, do it after those 100 rounds, because you don't want it stored with that carbon.
Right.
Yeah, you want to clean it, lube it, put it away. So
Gotcha.
It depends.
Number 12, related, how often do you recommend detail stripping versus field stripping for cleaning?
Some of that depends on the same thing. Some of it depends on the gun and how often you shoot. So like for instance, in 1911, for me, I'm gonna detail strip that thing more often than I would a Glock. There's much more moving parts. It's more finicky when it comes to debris. Than let's say a Glock or any striker fire type of weapon. But but same thing. So if you shoot often, it'll be probably once every few thousand rounds. If you don't shoot often, if you go to the range and you shoot 100 or 200 rounds a year, then do it right then.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Question 13. When did you start using the word debris?
Yeah.
Any tips for working on flexibility?
You know what? I this is one area that I kind of lack in. So I listen to guys like Matt in the squad, or Omega Project dude,
Right. Yeah.
Because man, they really know it. But it's important to static stretch.
Okay.
Like at the end of workouts, and stretching is a boring thing. But you want to make sure that you have good shoulder flexibility, good hip flexibility, that your hamstrings aren't super tight and your quads aren't tight and your calves. Hit the big ones and just do the old school static stretching, like bend over and touch your toes type of thing. Bending over and touching your toes does a lot because you're getting lower back, you're getting hamstrings, you're getting calves, you're getting shoulders, all that stuff. But it's one of the things that I should probably pay more attention on. I do static stretching, but I don't have a lot of tips. Yeah. It's not a specialty of mine.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think I look back fondly on from taking martial arts as a kid was the emphasis upon, because you would spend the first 15 minutes of the class
stretching.
Just stretching.
Well, because you needed to kick somebody in the face, bro.
Exactly.
These are high kicks.
I think I had read or heard somewhere that David Goggins stretches 2 to 3 hours every night.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have a job.
Yeah, that is his job.
Right? His job is the internet, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't think he does a job.
Okay, 14. What are your bad habits, or was a past bad habit that you overcame?
Dude, for me, it's the tobacco. That's my bad habit.
Okay.
And I know it is. And it doesn't really bother me. The only thing that bothers me about it is I do not like being a dependent.
Okay.
I don't appreciate being independent. I mean, I like it. I like chewing tobacco. I like it. But it is a bad habit.
Right.
And I know I'm a junkie. I know it. Yeah. I know it. And I admit to that. I am a freaking junkie. Now
you're speaking only of the dipping.
The dipping.
You're not talking about cigars.
Nah, because cigars, I don't do those often.
I don't inhale.
Yeah. I might do 4 a week or 1 a month when it comes to cigars. Right. But with the dip, I know that's a bad thing. And I started it as soon as I never heard of it before. I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, basic training. Mm-hmm. And I started it as soon as I went to basic training.
Did you puke the first time?
I got a little sick. I didn't puke. See, I got the opposite. I kind of got stoned off of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got euphoric. But it's a bad habit. But I'm pretty good about it. I call myself I dip with good etiquette. I'm not one of these people that walk around with a spit cup.
Right.
Yeah, or a big freaking bottle. Oh my God, that's.
So what does Rebecca think of it?
She doesn't mind.
Okay.
No, unless I leave something around, like unless I spit a dip out in a thing and she could see it.
Right.
But
on your dinner plate.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
All right. And last question, Pat. What do you think about target-focused shooting in targets under, is that 15
Yeah,
meters?
15 meters.
And or when closing with target? I don't understand the question, but
Yeah, I do. So basically what he's talking about here and asking is, it's called instinctive shooting. I am not a fan.
Okay.
So there's a lot of instructors, and I'll tell you why they do this, who teach instinctive shooting. In other words, you push the gun out there and instinctively squeeze the trigger and focus on the target versus the sights.
Right.
People teach that because they suck at shooting. Yep, and they use it as an excuse. They go, "You're not going to look at the sights in a gunfight." I say freaking bullshit. Now, if it's a contact shot, you're not looking at the freaking sights because you might be shooting almost from the hip.
Right.
But if you bring the gun out and the pistol is in front of you, focus on the sights. Are you going to do that in a gunfight? Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm
if
not
it's
going
a
to say
subconscious?
Yeah, right. I'm not going to say probably not. I'm going to say maybe not.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to sell instinctive shooting. I am going to say you need to be able to discern and discriminate and put proper and ensure proper bullet placement every time. And in order to do that, you need a sight picture. Are you going to do that in a gunfight? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Depends on the situation.
But
the gun.
focus on it in training. Focus on the sights in training. So you like the way I phrased that and was careful not to say certain things?
Yeah.
Those are good. Those are good Q&As.
Absolutely. Really good. Wow. Well, it's good to do this again,
Hell
man.
yeah, man. Yeah.
A lot of fun. So hope everybody's enjoying
I
this.
can't wait to get a dip right now.
Now that we're talking about it. So yeah, we'll talk about some other books along similar lines. Again, books that have been very influential for Pat Mack, and so I know you'll be interested to get them. But again, we mentioned at the outset the Keep the Blaze Alive coaching squad. We would still encourage you to join. You can do that at patreon.com/coaching squad, and of course you can follow Mac at TMACSINC. T-Max Inc. And very, very cool stuff. Get on the YouTube channel because we're now posting there pretty much every day.
Yeah, man.
And good stuff is happening over there. So anyway, and this podcast will now be posted also on Mac's YouTube channel. Bigger audience, and so it's good to do this again with you, man. We'll try to do this a whole lot more.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Anyway, CJ the Metal Motivator, remember, whatever you do,
don't suck.
metal up.